Let's stop the poetry for a second. Let's strip away the religious metaphors and the fairy tale language. You need to understand exactly what happened 48 hours ago, not as a story, but as a mechanism. You've been told that the devil, the embodiment of ego, pride, and rebellion, knelt before you. And the narrative you're hearing is that he did this out of respect, that he was so impressed by your decision, so awed by your strength, that he chose to honor you. I am here to tell you that is incorrect. The forces of darkness do not feel awe. They do not feel respect. And they certainly do not choose to kneel. Submission is the one thing their consciousness is programmed to reject at all costs. So, if he didn't choose to kneel, why was he on the ground? We need to talk about the physics of spiritual frequency. You see, we live in a holographic universe governed by laws of vibration. Darkness, by its very definition, is dense. It is heavy. It creates a low, slow-moving frequency that thrives on fear, shame, and deception. It's a gravitational pull downward. Light, which is what you are made of, is high velocity. It is expansive. It is absolute truth. For the last few weeks, hell has been throwing everything at you to lower your frequency. They sent the distraction. They sent the fear. They sent the perfect trap. And 48 hours ago, when you stood at that crossroads and chose integrity over convenience, when you looked at the easy way out and said no, something violent happened in your energy field. You didn't just make a good choice. You triggered a rapid frequency spike. In that moment of absolute defiance, your soul's vibration accelerated to a speed that the dark dimension cannot metabolize. Think of it like this. Imagine an entity made of ice trying to stand upright inside the core of a volcano. The ice doesn't choose to melt. The ice doesn't respect the fire. The ice collapses because the laws of thermodynamics give it no other option. It cannot maintain its form in the presence of that much heat. That is what happened to the enemy standing in front of you. When you held your ground, you became a spiritual gravity well. You generated a localized field of absolute truth so intense that deception could literally no longer stand upright in your presence. The kneeling wasn't a ceremony. It was a structural failure of the dark entity's ability to project power. The atmosphere around you became so pressurized with light that the entity was physically forced down by the weight of its own density. It was a hostile environment protocol. He didn't bow to your ego, chosen one. He collapsed under the weight of your frequency. This is why this event is being studied by the higher hierarchies. Not because you are special in a vanity sense, but because you demonstrated that a human soul operating in a physical body can generate enough light to force a frequency override on a prince of hell. You didn't win an argument. You won a battle of physics. But here is the dangerous part. Here is what most spiritual teachers won't tell you. When you generate that much light, when you force the darkness to collapse, you create a vacuum. And the first thing the universe tries to do after a victory like this is test if it was a fluke. Because immediately before the kneeling, there was the trap, the counterfeit blessing. And if you don't understand how you dodged it, you might not be so lucky next time. Now we need to look at the weapon that was used against you. Because before the devil knelt, he tried to recruit you. And he didn't do it with scary faces or nightmare scenarios. That's amateur hour. That's Hollywood. Real spiritual warfare is subtle. It's elegant. And exactly 5 days ago, the system sent you what I call a counterfeit blessing. You know exactly what I'm talking about. It was that opportunity that appeared out of nowhere. The relationship that sparked instantly. The business deal that seemed too good to be true. The solution to your financial pain that required just a tiny gray area. Why was it so tempting? Because the dark algorithms have been studying you. They know your desperation. They know what you pray for at 3 a.m. And they synthesized a scenario that looked exactly like the answer to your prayers. This is the Trojan horse protocol. The enemy knows that a soul of your caliber cannot be bought with evil. You would never say yes to hurting someone. You would never say yes to darkness. So they packaged the darkness inside a wrapper of light. They used the 90-10 rule. This is a rule you must memorize. When the Matrix wants to trap a chosen one, it will offer you a deal that is 90% perfect. It gives you the money you need. It gives you the recognition you crave. It gives you the connection you're lonely for. That's the 90%. That's the bait. But hidden inside is the 10%. The poison pill. The small compromise. The tiny lie. The requirement to keep it secret. The feeling that you have to suppress your true self to keep the person happy. Most people look at the 90% and say, well, nobody's perfect. I can live with the 10%. You didn't. You felt the 10% like a shard of glass in your throat, while your brain was saying, take it, this solves everything. Your solar plexus was screaming, danger. That anxiety you felt wasn't fear of success. It was your spirit detecting the energetic signature of a trap. You need to understand the difference between a God-sent blessing and a counterfeit blessing, because they look almost identical on the surface, but they have different signatures. Sign number 1, the speed. The counterfeit blessing always comes with urgency. You must decide now. This offer expires tonight. Don't let this walk away. Darkness always rushes you, because if you had time to sit in silence, you'd see the hook. God never rushes. God operates in kairos, divine timing. If you feel panic to accept, it's a trap. Sign number 2, the aftertaste. A blessing from God brings peace, even if it's challenging. A counterfeit blessing brings relief followed immediately by anxiety. You feel relieved the problem is solved, but you feel a low-level hum of dread in your gut. When you said no to that opportunity, you did something impossible. You chose integrity over survival. In that split second, you shattered the desperation program. You proved to the universe that your soul is not for sale, even when the price is right. That was the moment the timeline split. That was the moment you stepped out of the karmic loop and onto the destiny timeline. But here is the catch. When you reject the fake blessing, the real blessing doesn't show up 5 minutes later. No. First, everything goes silent. You enter the void. If I know you, and I mean, if I really know who you are, then I know exactly how you feel right now. You're confused. You did the impossible thing. You looked the devil in the eye. You rejected the temptation, and you stood in your integrity. You passed the test that 6,000 years of history says humans usually fail. So, where is the reward? Where is the winning lottery ticket? Where is the sudden phone call changing your life? Instead of a celebration, you've been met with silence. Deafening, heavy silence. Your phone has stopped ringing. People you thought were close to you are suddenly distant, or they've just disappeared entirely. You feel a strange stagnation, like you're walking through mud. You feel stuck. And the voice of doubt, that lower mind, is starting to whisper, did I make a mistake? Did I just throw away my only chance? Did God abandon me? Listen to me closely. You are in the kill zone. This phase is called the void, and this is where 99% of awakened souls fail. They pass the test of integrity, but they fail the test of patience. They panic in the silence and run back to the old comfort zone. Do not move. Do not panic. You need to understand what is happening to your reality. When you rejected that counterfeit blessing, you collapsed an entire timeline. You deleted the future where you were small, compromised, and unhappy. But the new timeline, the one where you are powerful, abundant, and aligned, is still rendering. Think of a computer game. When you move from one massive level to the next, there is a loading screen. The screen goes black. The music stops. Nothing seems to be happening. But inside the processor, millions of lines of code are being rewritten to build the new world. The void is your loading screen. The universe is currently rearranging the furniture of your life. It is sweeping away everything that no longer vibrates at your new frequency. That's why friends are falling away. It's not because you did something wrong. It's because you changed the radio station. They are still broadcasting on FM 88.5, the station of gossip, fear, and survival. You just tuned into FM 109.0, the station of destiny. You can no longer hear each other. The signal is lost. Let them go. This silence is not punishment. It is protection. You are being sequestered in a spiritual quarantine so that your new energetic body can stabilize before the real power is poured into you. If the blessings came right now, while you are still detoxing from the battle, they would crush you. So, here is your instruction for the void. Hold the center. Do not reach out to the toxic ex just to fill the silence. Do not accept the job you know is beneath you just to feel busy. Do not lower your standards because you are lonely. Stand in the empty room and trust that the furniture is coming. Because what you just did didn't only save you. You have no idea what you just did to your bloodline. You didn't just break a habit, you broke a curse. I need you to zoom out. Way out. Stop looking at this week. Stop looking at your bank account or your current relationship status. You need to look at the blood running through your veins. Because this victory, this moment where the dark forces collapsed in your presence, was never just about you. You are what the spiritual hierarchies call a cycle breaker. If you look back at your family history, what do you see? Do you see a pattern? Generation after generation of the same stories. The same poverty, the same addiction, the same abusive marriages, the same silent suffering. Fathers who couldn't express love, mothers who sacrificed their dreams for survival. A long gray chain of people who wanted to break free but didn't have the spiritual clearance to do it. They didn't have the code. But then, you were born. And from the time you were a child, you felt like the black sheep, didn't you? You felt like the alien in your own house. You didn't fit in with your family's dysfunction. Their drama made you physically sick. Their excuses didn't make sense to you. You thought you were the outcast. You were wrong. You were the anchor. You were the one soul sent into that genetic line with a specific mission: to endure the trauma, to feel the weight of the curse, and then, at the critical moment, to say, "It ends with me." When you stood your ground 48 hours ago, when you rejected that easy way out, you weren't just making a decision for your Tuesday. You were retroactively healing your grandfather's pain. You were rewriting the genetic code for your unborn grandchildren. That kneeling we talked about? The devil wasn't just releasing his claim on you. He was being forced to release the legal claim he held on your entire lineage. The contract that said, "This family will always be poor." Burned. The contract that said, the women in this family will always be victims. Burned. The contract that said, the men in this family will always leave. Burned. You paid the ransom. You paid it with your integrity. You paid it with your tears. You paid it by walking the lonely path when everyone else took the easy road. Do you understand the magnitude of your position now? You are the fulcrum point of 10 generations. 5 generations of ancestors are behind you, cheering you on because you finally opened the door they couldn't. 5 generations of descendants are waiting in the future, inheriting a world of freedom because you were brave enough to clean up the mess. You are not the black sheep. You are the golden thread. But now that the curse is broken, you need to learn how to operate the new software. Because the enemy, realizing he has lost the legal battle for your soul, is going to try one last, desperate tactic. He can't force you anymore, so he's going to try to trick you. He's going to try to get inside your head. Okay, we've covered the victory. We've covered the silence. We've covered the bloodline. Now we need to talk about defense, because here is the truth about the enemy. When he loses a territory battle, he switches to guerrilla warfare. He can no longer stand in front of you, we established that. So he will try to whisper to you. The competitor told you that a thought appeared perfectly articulated, offering a deal. That is accurate. But they didn't tell you how to stop it. They didn't give you the tools to tell the difference between your own mind, the voice of God, and the voice of the enemy. You need to learn the inception protocol. Right now, your mind is a battleground, and not every thought in your head belongs to you. Spiritual entities can insert thoughts directly into your stream of consciousness. They sound like your voice. They use your vocabulary. So how do you tell them apart? How do you know if that sudden idea is a divine download or a dark trap? You use the energetic signature test. Here are the 3 rules to identify the intruder. Rule number 1, the 2-second delay. Your higher self, your connection to source, is instantaneous. It doesn't speak in long paragraphs. It speaks in knowings. It hits you in the first 2 seconds. It's a gut feeling, a flash of insight, a sudden yes or no. Darkness needs to convince you. It needs time. If you hear a voice in your head that starts debating, rationalizing, and explaining why you should do something, that is not God. That is a negotiation, and God does not negotiate. Rule number 2, the location of the signal. Where do you feel the thought? Close your eyes next time it happens. A dark insertion is head heavy. It feels like pressure in the temples, a tightness in the forehead. It creates a buzzing, racing loop. It feels like mental noise. A divine download is heart heavy or gut heavy. It drops into your body. It feels grounded. It feels like a warm weight in your solar plexus. Even if the message is a warning, the feeling is calm. Rule number 3, the loop versus the drop. The enemy has limited creativity, so he uses looping. You're not good enough. You're not good enough. You missed your chance. It repeats. It nags. It's like a broken record. Divine guidance speaks once. It drops the truth. Go left. And then it waits. It honors your free will. It doesn't nag. The devil tried to negotiate with you 48 hours ago using a logical, perfectly worded argument. And you rejected it because your gut screamed no before your brain could even process the sentence. That was your discernment working on autopilot. But now, you need to make it manual. For the next 7 days, you are under mental quarantine. Treat every negative thought as a suspicious package. Do not open it. Do not engage with it. Do not argue with it. Simply label it, "Not mine," and let it pass. Because once you master your mind, the physical reality has no choice but to realign. And that brings us to the final piece, the reward. How does the universe actually pay you back for what you've done? We've arrived at the final truth, the part everyone wants to know. You've broken the cycle. You've endured the void. You've secured your bloodline. So, when does the good stuff happen? When does the struggle actually end? The other video promised you that toxic people would magically vanish and money would fall into your lap. And while the spirit of that is true, the mechanics are misunderstood. The universe doesn't do magic tricks. It does physics. And you are about to experience the law of magnetic reversal. For years, you have been operating on a polarity where you had to chase things. You had to chase love, chase stability, chase validation. You were the magnet pushing forward, trying to force connections. But because your frequency was mixed with trauma and ancestral karma, you often attracted the opposite of what you wanted. You attracted people who needed fixing. You attracted bosses who exploited you. That polarity has just flipped. Because the darkness knelt, the resistance is gone. You are no longer pushing. You are now a superconductor. Here is exactly how your rewards will arrive. Watch for these 3 specific shifts in the next 30 days. Shift 101. The Great Repulsion. Before the new enters, the old must be ejected. You will notice people acting strangely around you. They might get irrationally angry, or they might just stop calling. They might ghost you. Do not chase them. This is the magnetic reversal. Your light has become too bright for their shadows to hide in. They are being repelled by your integrity. Their exit is not a loss. It is the receipt for your answered prayers. Let the trash take itself out. Shift number 2. The strategic synchronicity. God isn't going to drop a bag of cash on your bed. He's going to drop an idea. He's going to arrange a random meeting with a stranger in a coffee shop who has the exact contact you need. He's going to make you stumble upon a book, a video, or a course that contains the missing key to your career. This is the resource download. Your job is to act on it. The doors are unlocked, but you still have to turn the handle. The luck is real, but it requires your motion. Shift number 3. The authority override. This is the most subtle, but the most powerful. You will walk into a room, a store, a meeting, a family gathering, and you will feel different. You won't feel the need to explain yourself. You won't feel the need to apologize for existing. People will treat you with a sudden, unexplained respect. They will listen when you speak. Why? Because subconsciously, their spirits recognize your rank. They can feel that you are a soul who forced the darkness to kneel. You carry the energy of a general now, not a soldier. You have graduated from the war. You are entering the building phase. You are no longer fighting to survive the dark. You are here to architect the light. So, chosen one, take a breath. The war is over. The silence is normal. The ancestors are free. And the future? It's rendering right now. Welcome to the new timeline. If you accept this new rank, if you accept the responsibility of the cycle breaker, I want you to verify it. Go to the comments right now and write, "Protocol activated." Seal the command, lock the timeline, and watch what happens next.